American TESOL presents Free Friday webinars. I'm Shelly Sanchez-Terrell, and this is about our fourth year doing this. We offer a free webinar thanks to American TESOL every Friday. You can bring friends along. We also have recordings that you can find on youtube.com/aTESOL, or you can go to the American TESOL site as well and find the recordings. We have over 200 presentations, different topics, and we also have a teaching with technology certification. Not just a certificate, but a certification. If you're an American TESOL member, go to esltech.com and you'll be able to access the course. This is the last final project that we have in the course, but we'll start again in a couple of weeks, and then you can get that certification. We have different technology topics, and today's topic is meaningful learning with digital portfolios, or sometimes you see the word ePortfolios, electronic portfolios. And there's many different ways that you can use this to help your students really reflect upon their learning journey. So the great things about having a portfolio, especially for language learners, is that it's a great way for parents and students to see where they were and what they've achieved or what they've done. And it gives them a broader aspect and also lets them benchmark and set goals for their ongoing language learning. So with a digital portfolio, they're able to record multimedia. They can record themselves speaking. They can also take listening tests. They can take dictation tests. They can do readings and writings. And so you can have all that within the portfolio, and they can see where they can get a better, broader picture of their work throughout the course. But the good thing is, many times, and I found this when I've been to different countries. I've been in nearly 30, working with teachers and students and helping them learn. And I have found that a lot of times when you work with parents, they wonder, what is the value of having you as the teacher, especially when you're teaching language. And the portfolio was always one of the most impressive selling points in a way, because it showed how much we did in the course, but it also showed sometimes they don't realize how their English was at the beginning, and they don't realize that they've had that growth. And so the parents, a few would tell me, I can tell by the digital portfolios and the sites that my children, that you really care about my children. So it was really a great way to show that and get that connection with the parents. There's a lot of benefits to having a digital portfolio. You can have it for really young children. I've seen where kindergarten, first grade students have some type of a digital portfolio. And you can have a digital portfolio because you can scan their work. So even if it's drawings or penmanship or handouts or worksheets, they can have that scanned and put in their portfolio, because it is a visual, it can be very visual. So it does illustrate that growth. It encourages reflection. It gets the students to, it's very powerful when you're able to go back, you're able to see all that you've achieved. And for some students, a lot of students feel like it's overwhelming. They feel like learning a language or learning math or science or whatever you teach is sometimes impossible. They're not smart enough. They've heard that they're bad at math. Sometimes you'll hear them say, I'm not very good at reading. I'm not very good at speaking English. I'm not very good at science. And so a learning portfolio or digital portfolio, electronic portfolio, gives them this ability to be able to go back and to see that, to say, hey, in fact, I am. Look at everything that I achieved. I was able to do this and that, all in English. And for them, it's quite amazing. It supports digital research, because a lot of the tools I'm going to show you, you can have students bookmark, curate, aggregate. It also archives their creations, and it lets them have an audience to publish for, so they want to make it better. At least my students have always edited and re-edited, and they practice again and again what they're going to say, or they rewrite what they're going to have, because they know there's an audience involved, and it gives them a purpose. They say, well, I've got to make this look really good for my audience. And it's collaborative feedback. It's always great when it's not only you as the teacher that's giving them feedback and saying, oh, I like this, this is good, because you're, as a teacher, expected to do that. But your students, if they have it from other peers, or they have it from other people around the world, they get super excited. It seems like the feedback is more meaningful. I'm going to show you what my students did, just one kind of digital portfolio. So there's different tools, and these were adult students. So I've worked with 2-year-olds all the way to over 80 years old, teaching in different levels, different subject matters as well, and so many different topics and subjects. And so this is just one that we did. This was a course that I designed and I did for the Ministry of Education in Spain. And so there was about 100 to 200 students who took the course each semester. They got graduate credit. They'd never used digital tools before, so they weren't familiar with using Web 2.0 tools. It was very new to them. So at this point, I wanted the buy-in and to get them, because the portfolio is a project that is ongoing. A portfolio isn't something that's quick. It's not a 45-minute lesson. A portfolio, digital portfolio, is something they consistently add to throughout the year. That's when it's the most powerful. If you get them to do it towards the end of your class period, they don't get that true reflection. But if they keep doing it ongoing, they're able to benchmark their progress, they're able to get more out of it, they're able to see where they're struggling and able to focus on that and then improve. So that would be my recommendation. But because they know this is ongoing and this is another task amongst their other assignments and projects, you have to somehow find a way to make it motivating and keep them on task. So I thought that Pinterest would be the best tool for these particular students. I don't think Pinterest is necessarily the best tool for very young learners. I'll show you better ePortfolio sites and options for young learners that you can use. But Pinterest, I think, for teens and adults is actually quite motivating and nice. So we liked it. We had them do a couple of things. So they had, not only did they have a digital portfolio, but they also had where they, at the end, they had to do a presentation of their portfolio from the beginning. So each module, and the module could be anywhere for 2 weeks. You could do this every week, they update it. But each module, at the end of each module, they had to turn in, their board for the week. And each board in that module, they had to have 3 things. So first, they had to choose, they had to bookmark their favorite tool or resource they discovered during that module that, you know, they either found out through their peers or that we taught them. And then the other thing is they had to bookmark a reading, something that they read that they thought really contributed, and they had to be very specific. They had to reflect. They had to say, this is how I'm going to use it in my life, in my future. This is why I really like this. And then they also had to bookmark another task that they did. So that's what they did in their Pinterest boards. We also had collaborative Pinterest boards as well. So you can find my students' work, and you can even find my details about this project if you go to teacherbootcamp.com/ePortfolios, and you'll be able to find it there. I got the idea of how to design my course, and I use portfolios in a majority of my courses, and I've been using this portfolio method and digital portfolios since 2000. Now, what I used to do is, before, I wouldn't use it with that. What I would do is I would take something like like a flash disk, you know, and that's how we would originally have it, or we would put it on CDs. So that was the original ones for my students. And if you struggle with technology, having the internet and things like that, you can do it with a flash drive. You can have a flash drive and have them do a digital portfolio that way as well. And then they can carry it throughout their time as a student. This is called crowdsource learning in a way too. It's based on a book and a theory called pedagogy.org. And pedagogy is where students get to kind of design the curriculum and own the learning because they learn from each other. And the digital portfolio, I believe, is more powerful when you get peers involved because it helps you with giving feedback. So part of this, you teach your students social bookmarking and curation. What is social bookmarking and curation? Well, we do have on your browser where you mark favorites, your favorite sites, your favorite, when you go visit somewhere on the web, then you'll mark a favorite. And then this will be piled up and your computer will save it. Well, now you have some really great free sites, and they can be web apps and tools. I'm going to find my phone here because the good thing is that not only can you do this, well, you can see one right here, but you can do this with your mobile device. So it works on your computer, your laptop, on your browser, but it also will have a free app for your phone. And these are what these tools look like. You have a few options. You have Digo, you have Pinterest, and Pinterest does have a mobile app, of course. You have Pearl Trees, and I bookmark all of the resources for American TESOL, all my Pearl Trees, so you can get an idea what that looks like. You have list.ly, and I use that quite a bit to Scoop It. A lot of teachers like Scoop It. You only get 5 Scoop It magazines or topics for free. A topic is sort of like a board, just like Pinterest. Pinterest has boards. You get unlimited on Pinterest. Storify is really nice as well. You have EduClipper, Flipboard, Livebinders. There's so many, many, many more. But these are the ones that make it a little bit easier when you work with students of all ages. Now, the one for education and for young learners, there's 2. You can use EduClipper or Livebinders. That's what I would recommend for children. If you teach children, EduClipper and Livebinders is made for children. But it's also made for adults. It's also, they can use that as well, and it's fine. I use Livebinders as well. So for the first part of teaching with digital portfolios was every week my students did collaborative pinning with me. So with Pinterest, when you save a site, they call it pinning. So when you favorite, when you bookmark a site, you call it pinning for Pinterest, and it comes up with these boards. So that's what it looked like. This is from me and my students. We came up with all these boards. You can find them if you go to pinterest.com story and tap, because that is where we actually, this is where our students had the boards. Let me put that in the chat box so you can see an idea. So I pinned there because, so I brought to the table the resources I already knew. You can put in readings, you can put in PDFs, you can put up a lot, pictures, images, infographics, you can put their assignments, things like that on there. What did it include? Well, they had to add a favorite tool, a favorite resource, a favorite activity, and they had to write down the real world reflection. This is what a student's board looked like. So this is Soraya's, and Soraya, this is what she put for module 5, my favorite activity. And so, and this is all on Pinterest. She said thing link, and then she wrote a little description. In this module, I learned that not only is it important to make students, and then she goes through. Then she put her favorite resource. She said the icon cards, and this is her assignment. This is what she made. So she's showing what she made there. She pinned it. And then she said my favorite tool, no doubt that my favorite 2 here. And then she even added another site, so they could add more. That was fine. She met the requirements. She did the 3, but then she added more as well. And so that was one of the motivating parts of them keeping their digital story portfolios. So it gives them a little icon. It gives you a preview of what the resource is, because that Pinterest is very visual. But then what it does, which I think is really great, is that then when you click on it, it'll blow it up and you'll get to the actual resource. They receive feedback in a number of ways. So they receive feedback if they put it on a Google Doc. A lot of our assignments were on Google Docs because Google Docs is an easy way to upload a PowerPoint, upload a handout, a Microsoft Word document, and have it online so you can bookmark it. You can make it private as well and give certain people permission. So they would give me as a teacher permission, but if anybody else tried to click on it, then it was hard. They wouldn't be able to unless they were given permission. So some of the students felt like that, and that was fine. So we did a lot of things through Google Docs, and then they had to individually upload those. So the students, they put feedback within that. They could feedback within a Google Doc. But the other way they did feedback was actually on Pinterest. So the students would comment or heart. They would heart if they liked somebody else's resource. And then they would repin those posts. So they would reshare whatever they learned from their peer. They could put them on their own board, and then they could comment on them as well. So it looked a little like this. So you see how here it's pinned again. And they pin different things. You can see where here one of the students is giving feedback to this resource that this student shared in our video storytelling board. So this student is saying, oh, I really like this. This is why, blah, 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 and leaves a comment. So you do have room for feedback there. And then at the end, the students created a reflective presentation. They went through each of the modules. They took screenshots of each of their pins, and then they talked about it. So this is my student Andres, and he's using present.me to present his portfolio. So at the end of the year, they present their portfolios, and they do it digitally. So that's really nice. Some of them decided to use VoiceThread, which was a really good way for them to also take snapshots, upload them, and talk about them. The good thing with VoiceThread is they're able to comment as audio. They're able to comment with text, like you can see here, and they can comment through video. So here you see, here's for video, recording audio, or just typing. You can even draw and doodle. And some of my students use Prezi. So here in Prezi, they would include the snapshot, the URL, and then they would go through each module and they would talk about their learning journey. And it's really interesting because they really did see it as a journey. I didn't name their portfolios or anything. My students actually, a lot of them called it a journey. They said an unexpected journey, road somewhere. So they did a lot where they talked about what would be that their journey. And so you can see some of the snippets here. She talks about Module 1, digital literacy, and this is what she learned. Module 2, sharing stories. She shows here the accepted use policy, the acceptable use policy she created. Here, if you click, you see her Creative Commons license she created. You see the comics she created for her students. Some of them use capsules. Capsules will do the same. It's just a different way to present it. So it's up to you, whichever tools that you think are good. I let my students have a choice between capsules, VoiceThread, and Prezi to present their entire Pinterest board and the stuff they collected. Now, they also had Livebinders. They could have done it with Livebinders instead of Pinterest. What's the difference? Well, Livebinders has a mobile app too. It has an extension. It works free for the iPad as well. It's also on your browser. But the good thing about it is that it works on HTML, so you can make it look like a website or a web page. It has different tabs, so you can put your information in the tabs, and you can add, so it looks a lot more like a website. But the one that I do recommend, and I talked about this earlier, if you go to educlipper.net .net, and that's from my good friend here, Adam Bello. He has made a really great tool. It's basically like a Pinterest for education. It's free. And you also can give assignments this way. You can grade. So it acts a little like a learning management system. And that's what makes it so great. Because with Pinterest, I can't add grades. I had to grade it through Moodle, and I had to grade it with rubrics, and I'll show you what that looks like. But that can take a lot of time. It would have been much better and easier if I would have been able to use EduClipper, given them their assignment, and then they turned it into me. You can make individual classes, and all the boards will go to you within EduClipper, and it's free. And at the end, your students can add audio or video comment. They can comment on each other's pins to the boards, or clips, as it's called in EduClipper. But it's the same concept of boards. You can bookmark a whole lot more. You can add easily videos, documents, pictures, all of that within the board. So it makes it really incredible. So what do my students think of this? Well, a lot of my students at the beginning, they thought that's a lot of work. But, so you might get some struggle with this. You may get resistance. It was a little difficult for those who have never social bookmarked, if they've never curated, if they're not used to ongoing, then at a little bit, you're going to have to support them and make sure. I collected mines at the end of every module because I knew if I didn't, that they wouldn't keep up with it. And I took off points if they did not keep up with it. So they would get points off. And this is a good way for them to manage their time, for them to really put forth the effort. But this is what they said at the end, and this is what I get each semester that I've done this. So I've used digital portfolios quite a lot, and I always get a message like this. Lots of them, tons of them, from pretty much every single student. I've yet to have a student not thank me for getting them to do their digital portfolio. So they said, first of all, I would like to thank Shelley for insightful comments. I've learned a lot of new things despite my difficulties to cope with some tasks. I thought I would never reach my final project, and here I am. And last but not least, and I think this is pretty powerful, I would like to thank my colleagues. Their tasks have been a great source of inspiration. So yes, having it on a little zip drive, so having it on a zip drive was one thing. But when I started using collaborative curation bookmarking tools like Pinterest, EduClipper, or Livebinders, Pearltree, to get them to Prezi, all of it, to get them to do a portfolio where their peers could comment, that was the most powerful. They didn't know their peers or colleagues before the class, and now and it was very interesting that like over the 100 students, 100 of them thanked their peers. And I think that's really powerful because you can tell that they had a tight classroom culture. Here she says their tasks have been a great source of inspiration. They thanked each other, they helped each other, they were a community, they learned what it was to work with each other. So I think that was one of the most powerful results of this. This is the project rubric that I came up with. So it's a little different because this is for Spain, and in Spain you do from the beginning to the highest, to above mastery. Sometimes with the US, you do mastery and then it goes down. So here, above mastery is the highest one they could achieve. Required details, and then they had the reflections, the tools, the layout, the design, and then the mechanics, the grammar mistakes, the spelling, the punctuation. So all of this was part of the rubric. And then I would give them a 1, 2, 3, or 4. At the end, they would get the final average. And then each week, not week, but module, they were graded with the same rubric so they could get used to it, so they could understand where they went wrong. And then I would leave specific comments. If you do use rubrics to grade these, you can use something called Rubric. That's part of Google Docs. It's an add-in, and this makes it really easy to grade these portfolios with rubrics. So if you do use Google Docs, then one of the really great ways to be able to grade is if you use Rubric. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you that particular script. You can find it in Google Docs. And what it does is you can upload one rubric. It'll pop up every time that you're doing the grade. And so what it'll do is it'll let you add the numbers really quick and then add a comment, and it averages them for you, and then it mails the grade off to your student. It does it in a very private way. A few tips. Well, one tip is to have students show them how to do it with their mobile devices, how to use their mobile device. So if they have Pinterest as the site, then make sure they download, when they can at the beginning, have them download the Pinterest app. Same thing with EduClipper. So it's easier and faster. Your students tend to be on their phones all the time. So it makes it a lot easier if they can do the commenting, if they can bookmark the resource and everything with a mobile device. The more that you can use their mobile device to curate, the more they're going to do this, the more that it's going to give them, that they're going to give you more. With your web browser, and whether you're using Safari, whether you're using Firefox, whether you're using Chrome, you will have what's called a bookmarklet or an extension. What does that do? Well, what it does is when you click, see, here's the bookmarklet for Livebinder. When they visit any site, let's say they're at the Google Docs or anything, when they click this that says Livebinder, this box pops up. It's a pop-up box. So you have to allow the pop-up box. You have to show them allow the pop-up box. And then they have to put the chosen. This is the information that's in there, but they can make the message, and then it automatically goes to their Livebinder account. See? So it tells them, it lets you choose different things and save it the way you want. So there are more ePortfolio options out there, not just the ones I mentioned. A lot of them are under my my bookmarks for poster tools. So you can have something, for example, there's another board-like one. A lot of them look like boards nowadays because it's just easier to present a board and to see that digitally. There's one called Blendspace. Blendspace.com is a good one. It looks a lot like EduClipper. They can even add reflective, interactive exercises for those who are going to interact with their portfolio. Weebly.com is another really great tool for getting students to curate. Weebly.com, I have my portfolio, my online professional portfolio with Weebly.com. So let me go ahead and get that for you. It's drag and drop, and it's basically like a website. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the Weebly, and then I'm going to put what my Weebly looks like. So you can go and you can use it as an example, because this is my portfolio and it was made with Weebly. I just have a specific URL for it. And that's something that they can keep with them. Now, the reason why you want to introduce them to a tool is because a lot of schools don't have a uniform ePortfolio. There's some schools who do. Some schools use things like Mahara. Mahara is an ePortfolio, digital portfolio schools. There's another one that's called, I'm going to go ahead and see if I can find it, but it's a recently new one for digital portfolios, and it is, I think it has an app as well. But you can use Google Apps, for example, to use digital portfolios. You can use something like that. You can use even something called Pathbright that is made specifically for digital portfolios. And you can use a new tool that's called Bulb. So all of these tools you can find in my post that's inside the chat box, teacherbootcamp.com/ePortfolios. So teacherbootcamp.com/ePortfolios, and then you'll be able to find it there. And it's eventually be in shellyterrell.com/ePortfolios too. So you'll be able to find all of these bookmarks. And then there's different presentation tools that they'll be able to, if you decide to do the extra step and have them do a presentation of their overall portfolio, then you can use different tools for that as well. You can find everything in my Pearl Trees as well. That's where I have a lot of the bookmarks is in my Pearl Trees, and I'll share that with you as well. You'll find how to do it with Google Apps, how to do it with Google Sites, how to do it with Weebly, how to do a digital portfolio with Bulb, with Mahara. So you can find all of these ways to do them. And also you can find my student examples where theirs are at. What did they do their presentations with? What does it look like? What were their comments? You can find all of that as well. So thank you so much for joining me today. And next week, you can join me again. These are my books, Learning to Go, the 30 Goals Challenge for Teachers. And I talk a little bit more about portfolios that way as well. And you can find rubrics and handouts. And you can always go to esltech.com and you can grab your certification if you complete those course tasks and requirements. So thank you so much, and we will see you next week. If you, depending where you are, have a safe summer and nice and travel. And if you have it's going to be 4th of July soon, so if you enjoy that and you're watching that, then have a safe 4th of July. We will see you next